For the shelves, next I just need to measure from here to wherever they're going to go. But the problem is I don't know how far they're going to go here. I need to work out those top bars that I'm going to secure along here to then measure how deep that shelf is. And there's a bit of complexity here because when I put this top bar on there and then I put the foundation in it, when I put the top bar on the back here and I put the foundation in, the foundation is the backing of the shelf, but if I put the shelf up to here, then there would be a gap, and that's 3/8 of an inch or so between the shelf and the backing. That's probably not going to be a big deal. Is it going to be a negative thing? I don't know. The foundation will float a little bit, like it'll allow this to float. I think I do want to run that right up to the foundation. So what that's going to require is that I figure out how long these pieces are going to be, and then I have to rabbet these like that. Take out that material so that the shelf can slide right in up to where the groove is. Okay, so that rabbet needs to be at least through this piece, and it can stop anywhere between here and there. Actually, it can stop anywhere between here and here. So that's not going to be a tricky setup on the saw, and it's not going to be a difficult cut. But before I do, I need to decide how long are these. And it looks like once I remove these tails, the ears of the frame, and put that there, this is going to end pretty well exactly where this rabbet is. So the next one will have a little corner taken out of it like that. So I mean, that's not going to matter here nor there, but that's what's going to happen. So I have to go cut the ears off of these first, and then I can start making them custom. And when I do make them custom, I have to make two. Make one for each side. All right, so this one at the bottom, it looks like it's pretty well perfect. It's a tiny bit short, but that should be okay. I have to devise a way to put the foundation in. And do I want to encapsulate it in there? Do I want to trap it in there? I could put another piece on the bottom to hold it from just floating in there. We'll have to figure that out. I'll put this in here like this so that it's flush at this joint. And the next one, I'll cut a rabbet in the next one so it matches there. Right, so this, I'm just going to do two because I need left and right. So this, I can measure this. This is just going to be what I need to take out. And then here, I need to get this just right. This one extends. It's okay. I'll just leave that. Extends just beyond this joint, which is okay. Maybe it's not. Cut that off right there so that it lines up here. Okay, so this is going to be for that side. These are going to be indexed left and right, so I have to get this correct. I think I'd be best off to make those little openings just a bit larger than they need to be. To do this, I need to put the dado blade back in the saw. I want this up so I can reach it to fit the parts. So I need to make space. Now this might be a little hard to see. I've got the cabinet here so I can fit these parts. So I've got a 7/8 wide dado stack here. And I need to set it so that I can take off. I'm going to set this face on the table saw, and I'm going to take off at least this much and no more than this much. So somewhere in that groove there, which is a pretty wide groove, so this is not going to be a precision setup. It doesn't need to be. Okay, that is precision enough. And then I have to remember that these are being cut mirror image to one another. I made a mistake and put this mark here, so I have to cut the mating faces to these. And that's going to take my nice miter gauge again. Which might interfere with where that cabinet's sitting. I can work with that. Okay, so we get this set to 0. Lock that in. And I don't think I really need to use the flip stop. Okay, I think I've got those cut correctly enough, but I can't install them, right? Because I need to push these shelves in next. But before I push the shelves in, I need to cut the shelves. I need to rip the shelves to appropriate length here. And this is what I needed this for, so that I could measure from here to here, get a bead on how deep these shelves need to be. I'm going to measure more than one as 8 7/8. There's also 8 7/8. So it looks like they're pretty consistent. Right, okay, 8 7/8 it is then. All right, so now I need to change this again. Take the dado blade out and rip those shelves to 8 7/8. Okay, second verse same as the first. I have a little bit of a difficulty coming up here because remember that one I glued over there? I can't cut that yet. I can't size it, so once I get to this point, I'll be sort of dead in the water. But let's put these in anyway. might have to block plane these as well. Looks like I do. A couple of these were quite bowed. There it goes. Why, that is exact. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly where that one goes. And a short piece goes on here, mostly for looks. Okay. Do I change it? I just put it in the other way from this one, but I think because I am who I am, I want to change it. Only I would know that it was in the wrong way or the other way. I want to reiterate, the dado isn't really that tight. It's just that these pieces are a little bit cupped. So the dado needs to straighten out the shelf part as it goes down. So these pieces go right in there like that. And boy, that is as perfectly flush as you could ever imagine. Boy, that's nice. I love it when a plan comes together. Little block plate needs to be sharpened. It's kind of tearing things out. I'm kind of hooked now because I kind of need to start at the bottom, I think, with those backing pieces, and I can't start at the bottom until I put this piece in, and that piece is still over there with setting glue. So this cabinet is getting down to being ready for paint. I don't have any paint. I do have paint, I just don't have the paint I want. But I'm going to town tomorrow, so I think I'll pick up some paint tomorrow, and then I'll get down to painting this. I could sand it. It needs a good sanding, so I could do that. I'd have to change my shirt though. So maybe I'll do that, but I'll just kind of show you what's been going on here. So you can see that I have put the backing in already, which was a huge mistake, and I'll explain why. So what I did was, when I last left the build video, I put in these are top bars that the foundation sits in, and the foundation didn't end up being as tight in there as I'd hoped, so I ended up putting some staples through the foundation. If it intersected a shelf, I put staple here and there. If it didn't, then I just put a staple here and there. And so all of the pieces are stapled in there. And now comes the mistake. I need to paint this, and I want to paint it with my sprayer if I can. So I need to tape inside and out. This backside is not going to be nearly as hard as the inside. I need to tape this and mask it all off to get it ready for painting. So if I try to take this foundation out now, I'm going to make a huge mess. I'll probably break the foundation and split the wood. So yeah, big mistake going that far ahead. But so you can kind of get an idea what I was going for with the foundation on the back. kind of a, honeycomb pattern. People recognize the honeycomb pattern. People recognize the alternating black and yellow. Again, it looks more like a bumblebee than a honeybee, but it's still kind of gets the point across. But other than that, everything went together quite nicely. What would I change? I wouldn't overthink it and size the cabinet for the foundation. I would just shim this part. See, when I started thinking about putting the foundation, just making a groove in this back piece and putting the foundation in that, then I got it in my head, well, I have to resize the cabinet to fit the foundation. But then when I changed my plans and went with these top bars, I didn't have to resize it. All I would have to do is just put a shim. It would have been, I think, like a 7/16 shim under each one of these top bars. I wouldn't even have to use a top bar, but it's beehive stuff, so I wanted to use that. Yeah, so resizing it caused me a lot of work, and the joints aren't quite right and whatnot, so I'm not going to change that now. But if I had to make another one, and this is not cheap. This is not cheap at all. This cabinet with all the box parts and all the foundation and whatnot, it's a few $100s just for material. And now I have to buy paint, and paint's not cheap either. So this is, what I'm up against. I certainly could have saved money to buy something, but it wouldn't have been nearly as cool, in my opinion. And I got a shop. I like to build things. So that's where the shelving unit is at this point. So last I left you, I got the foundation in the back, realized it was a huge mistake, so I went ahead and masked this off. The tape doesn't stick very well to the foundation. And that's just my punishment for being stupid enough for putting that foundation in there before I painted the thing. I get ahead of myself sometimes, just trying to make use of my time. And sometimes I get things out of order. So what I've got here is I've set the cabinet up on my table saw. I've got a drop cloth, of course. I don't want paint all over my table saw. I've got it set up. You see it's not right on the drop cloth. I've got these little triangles. You can make these out of wood, but they were a Christmas gift. And they really, really help. They're awesome, and they're very strong. I've only got 4 of them under this cabinet. And that's meant to be a very small point so that when you paint one side, you can turn it over. Instead of setting the painted surface on the drop cloth, you can set it on these and not mess up the painted surface. But I'll just put those away because I don't need them all for this project. And as planned, I went to town yesterday to my local Home Hardware. Got some Beauty Tone paint. It's a flat interior latex. I don't know. It says interior acrylic, so I don't know. That's a latex, right? It doesn't say latex on it. You can usually tell by the cleanup directions. Because I wondered why I'm thinking, I can't see that. How come I can't read it? Well, it's not even in English. Cleanup. So, clean tools with warm soapy water. So that means it's not an oil paint. So there's the color. I tried to pick out something bright and something honey-like. It's got a bit of depth to it. It's not just a washed out yellow. So here's the plan to paint this yellow with this paint. The guy said that would work well. Just paint it. I don't have to prime that. Okay, so that's what I'll do. Again, it's not fine furniture, so who cares, right? And then once I'm done that, we'll take it to a daycare, and they are going to have some of their, I think she said some of their, senior students do some artwork. Just do whatever, honeybees and flowers and sunshine and rainbows, whatever they want to do on that. I'm sure they'll do a good job. Then I'll get it back, and I'll polyurethane it. This is a clear gloss, polyurethane. And that will just protect the artwork, protect the piece in the store. Because I imagine something in a store can probably see some traffic and a bit of abuse. So that is what I'm going to do today. I really wanted to spray this, but I'm not going to be able to spray it. I have to use my roller there, and roller tray, of course. I want to show you something that I discovered a few years ago at my store. I think they still make these. It's a Richard product. Richard is a brand that I find a lot of drywall tools and painting supplies in, or made by. And it's called Eco Dome. And how it works is, not only is it a liner, so my tray, I don't have to wash my tray. I wash the liner, so no difference there really. But the real magic is when I've got projects like this are a pain, because I can only work at them for 10 minutes and then I have to wait a day. So what do I do with my tray? Do I pour it back in the can and wash the tray and whatnot? Not so much. They figured that out. This is made in such a way that you can put another one of these on top, and you can't really see it, but it's made in such a way that it more or less kind of locks on there, so it sits proper. And the claim is that you can leave paint in there for 48 hours. You don't even have to take your roller out, because there's a little opening here for the roller handle. And I've used these, and there's no kidding. You can leave them usually only a day or so, but it works great, because then you only need to clean up once. It's probably going to take me 3 or 4 days to paint this. Here's some info on the Richard product. You can see some numbers and stuff here if you want to look for this product. Okay, so highly recommend it. I love these things. I actually happened upon the store a few years ago now, and I don't know how I learned it, but there was somebody worked at the store, and I said, oh, I like these, and they said, well, they're selling them out, because I don't think they stopped making them, but they said they're selling them out, they're not going to carry them anymore. So I bought about 20 of them. So I've got a kind of a lifetime supply now. All right, so I'm going to set this up over here and pour some paint in it and get busy. One thing I like using, I hate washing out brushes and whatnot, so I buy these cheap little brushes, $5 for, what is there, 4 of them in there. So you can afford to just toss these. And it's not like I'm painting, again, fine furniture, and it's not like I'm painting the whole thing. I just need a brush to do kind of the edges and the cracks and the handholds. I can't roll the handholds. So you can tell that's a real cheap brush, but the upside is it's a cheap brush and I can throw it out. All right, so I just got this yesterday, so it's shaken, not stirred. And I don't think it needs to be stirred. I'll just pour the whole thing in this tray. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I think I made a good choice. I'm going to say I made a good choice because that's the choice. That's what we're using. And I see that I got a speck of something or other in there right away. Okay, we're just going to go for it, I think. I always like to pour. Let's find the French side so I can make all the drips and obscure the writing on the French side. Okay, and I think there's quite a bit in here, so I think what I'll do is just take the can and just paint some of those handholds. Kind of a long shot, I know, but it's just a big project, so I can see the coverage is modest. kind of, the people who work at this store, they actually are trained quite well in their departments. And so I tend to trust what they tell me. First thing he asks me, what are you painting, right? Like, what do you want, but what are you painting? So that he can kind of just use his training to just sort of just make sure I'm going to get something I'll be happy with, right? And I think that's the right way to go in business. Don't fight your customer. Don't sell your customer stuff they don't need, but make sure that you can use your knowledge to make sure the customer's happy. I went in there and I asked him for a tinted primer because I was thinking, well, I'll just get a tinted primer. I'll prime this, then they can do the artwork. But he said it's not going to work so well because these paints are meant to be tinted, so there's really no color to them, but a primer is white. And he said, might not be able to actually tint that enough to come out with the color. The color might be quite washed out in the end. So we talked about it for a few minutes, and I said, okay, well, if you think that paint will cover in one, not in one coat necessarily, but by itself without needing a primer. This is pretty good wood. There's almost no knots in this wood, and I know knots is one thing that disrupts painted surface because they absorb paint at a different rate, or not at all. Okay. We'll just get all of the cracks filled. These joints have sufficient amount, and they're not flush really. So once I get that all filled, then I'll roll it and make a nice. The roller makes a nice surface. So we'll do that. But you can see that I'm going to need to paint this. I might need 2 coats. The way it's covering, I'm pretty sure I'll need 2 coats. So I'll need 2 coats here, 2 coats here, and then roll it over, and then do 2 coats again on the top. And that side is going to be more involved because that'll be the shelves. I need to paint the shelves as well. There's some big cracks. I wonder if I can fill those with paint. Fill them with paint and then they weep. The paint runs out and then you get drips. That's exactly what's happening. Make sure I paint that knot so that it gets 2 coats at least. Okay, for the rest, I think I'm just going to kind of cut this in. It is going to be a mess because I can see the edge of the foundation already, but what else am I going to do, right? So it wouldn't be a lie if you said that my channel was a lot like watching paint dry. It is today anyway. Always amazes me, you know, when you paint something, there's a lot of times in places that the paint won't stick. You get paint on something that you don't want it on, it's going to stick. You'll never get it off of there. This is kind of weird. The principles of what you wanted to happen versus what actually happened. Okay, the part everybody loves, rolling. It's not covering that dark, that gray wood that I used very well. It's okay, but you can see it's a different color. Might have to do 2 coats after all. Okay, that's about all I can do there. I think at this point I could come around and paint the top, because I can access that here, much like I did the bottom. Okay, I'm going to brush this first. Yeah, that's you know, the wood is showing through for sure. I'm not going to have a lot of paint to spare. It's always hard for me to know how much paint to buy for a project. It's not cheap. Boy, oh boy, paint's expensive. It always was, but it's way expensive now. That Helmsman polyurethane that I bought a gallon of that years ago. I think I have a little bit left. It was $75 for a gallon. Well, today it's $100 for a gallon of that. That's kind of crazy. It's good stuff though. Very tough. I bought it to use on painted boxes that I had the daycare paint for me. You may have seen boxes in my apiary that are painted and have some colorful artwork on them. That is the boxes that I'm referring to. Had a couple of different children's groups paint those. Kids have a lot of fun doing that. And, you know, I'll be honest, it's not cheap for me. Wax dipping boxes is way cheaper and way easier. There's a lot of running around. I have to deliver the boxes. I have to prime the boxes, and then I have to deliver them to the daycare. Then I have to pick them up, and then, you know, I don't have to, I guess, but then I polyurethane them to protect the artwork. So it's a lot of work and a lot of expense to do that. Just add some color, you know. I realized I wanted some color in the apiary. A bit of a whimsical color. That's what I'm hoping for this, just a whimsical theme to it. Not something that's too manufactured and stuffy. Although the theme of my product is quite premium, you know. Okay, I know you can't see in here, but I don't have anywhere else that I can put you. I'm a little concerned with the helmsman. I know when you paint anything with that polyurethane, the surface is quite slick. So I'm wondering if it was the right choice for a shelving unit that I'm going to be putting my glass jars on. I hope they don't slide around too much. Definitely going to be 2 coats. I can reach a little bit of this on this side, so I'll just keep going with what I can reach. I haven't masked inside yet, so I'll just get some paint on these shelves. And I have to paint the handholds on the bottom of these shelves though, don't I? I just painted my arm. Okay, let's do a little bit of brushwork. It's left-hand brushwork though. Results may vary. I'm gonna need another can of paint. I can't paint the sides in where the shelves are, so I think when I go to do that, I'll get my small roller employed for that, where that'll go right inside there. This big one won't. That might have been a good choice for overall, especially a situation like this. But it is what it is at this point. And I think I'm done all I can do. I can't reach any more down there. That'll get painted when I flip it over. So we'll take this back over here and cover it up. All right, so now the magic of this tray, I can usually get my brush in here, and then the roller sits like that, and the tray just, yeah, you can't have people running around here and making a commotion with this set, because it's very light and it just sets there. There, so that'll be good. I have confidence in that. I've done this before. That'll be ready to go tomorrow. I think that looks really good. If that color doesn't change when it dries, sometimes it does, that's perfect, I think. I do think that's perfect. So another coat will maybe cover this up better. You can see this knot is showing through there. So I think we're in good shape here. This will take a while though, a Saturday. So if I do another coat, you know, you could do 2 coats in a day if you start early. I didn't start early. I might be able to do another coat later today. But if I can't, I can maybe do a coat tomorrow and let it dry. Might be able to flip it over. But if I can't, it'll be Monday. And then Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be mid to late next week by the time I'm done painting this. But that's okay. I'll do a nice job. And I think it'll look like a really nice display in the store. Okay, bring you back when there's more to see. Thanks for watching. So I just brought my coffee out to do a quick coat of paint on this shelf. If I get a coat now and I time it right, I can probably do 3 coats today. But what's going to happen here is I think I'm done painting here. I'll roll it right over so this side is down, and then I can paint the other side and paint the shelves. The shelves are going to take a long time and a lot of effort. I bought myself a small roller pad to do the shelves inside. So hang up my jacket and get to work. It's going to be tricky. I can't slide it on there very easily because of the drop cloth. We'll see. Now that side is not wet, so I don't need my standoffs because it's wet. But I want them on there so that I can easily paint this face without being right on the drop cloth. So I'll put my little standoffs under here for that reason. I had this little roller, but I didn't have any pads for it, so I picked one of those up when I was buying paint. Now, I think I need to start in here with the brush. I don't think I'm going to be able to mask that in there, so I'll just cut it in by hand. I better start high, start at the difficult part and then work down from there. That's not that bad. It's just an area you're not really going to see even. But it's in there enough. I can't see the painted surface enough to see how I'm covering. It's not going to be a one coat deal, but it's covering pretty good. It'd be nice to have a bright light in here. I found that on the sides, I really had to do 3 to 4 coats. And I realize that part of my problem is that I didn't prime it. I guess I should have. I have primer paint here. There's no reason not to prime because the primer sets so fast. I'm going to just finish this with the brush. This one coat. And then I can roll it next time around. A drip happened. And, you know, of course, the shelf couldn't be tipped this way to make the drip on the painted surface. It had to be tipped that way. And so it hit the foundation. Not only that, it hit the black foundation. So now I got a nice yellow streak on the black. I guess it just kind of looks like bee poop, right? We all know bee poop gets everywhere. I don't think I can do anything about that. But you know I can try. I don't know if this will probably make things worse. I'll put some of my water on this pad. It's got a little bit of it out there, but yeah, mostly off. You can see the shelf is still here. Monday, I think, is my day to drive that out to get the kids to paint it. And I think I'll give them a little donation of some kind to, because they got to pay for their paints to do their artwork and whatnot. So I'll see what they need, give them something for their time and their materials. So yeah, I don't know if they can get it painted next week, because that's the last full week before Christmas. And then you know what happens, right? Everything kind of slows to a crawl. Take care and have fun.